Friends, good afternoon and welcome to this 14th in this series webinar on a very, very relevant topic today, which is sustainable transport. Friends, as we know that in today's time, we are in the era of globalization, wherein the fast movement of goods, people, and even the ideas has become a norm today. This has happened only because of the revolution that has arrived in information communication technology, but also in the transportation technology, wherein the fast movement from one place to other personally has also been done. So friends, when we are talking about transport, we know that the transportation in terms of the air transport, rail transport, road transport, water transport, it has to be such that it is not only to be accessible and affordable and convenient, but it has to also think about the various social, economic, and environmental impacts that this will have on the people. Otherwise, friends, when we say that in this era of globalization and when we are moving towards urbanization, the sustainable transport or transport, it is a very important component of urbanization, wherein a good transportation can further lead to urbanization, and they are both complementary and supplementary to each other. We need transport for access to work, to education, for the various goods and services, and for even meeting our family and friends, wherein the less the time devoted on transportation will mean more time, effort, and money in terms of the time that we can devote to the families as such. On the flip side, friends, what has happened with this rising transportation is that the total 20 to 25% of our world energy is being consumed in by the vehicular traffics. Plus, as per the estimate of United Nations Environment Program, every year around 2.4 million people they die premature deaths due to pollution caused by vehicles. Add to it, the road crashes, the physical inactivity, and the rise in fuel prices, and many other issues that come because of traffic congestion. So it becomes a very negative and the flip side of the transportation as such. So therefore, friends, the transportation that we require in today's time should not only be, as I said, accessible, affordable, and convenient, but it should also talk about in the areas to reduce the social impact, the economic impact, and the environment impact on the general public. So friends, this is a long-term goal wherein we should move from whatever today we have fossil fuels to energy efficient fuels or energy efficient vehicles. And the short-term impact that we require is to improvement in the fuel efficiency and vehicle emissions control. I mean, this is what the scientists world over they are into all this count. So the overall complications becomes what we term as the sustainable transport. So friends, to discuss all these issues and many other relevant issues, we at IHRDI, which is International Human Resource Development Initiative, in this 14th of the web series, we have come out with and invited very eminent resource persons today, which I have an honor to introduce to you today. We have Dr. Ali Gul, who joins us from Kyoto University, Japan. We have Dr. Mukti, advani, who is there in one of the very prestigious centers of the government of India, which is CRRI. And we have one of the pioneers and most experienced person in Jit Kumar Gupta ji, who joins us from Chandigarh. Just to give some details about the eminent personalities, Dr. Ali Gul is an associate professor at the Department of Urban Management, Kyoto University, Japan. He is a civil engineer by education and specializes in the transportation areas. Dr. Ali Gul has interests in electrical and energy efficient vehicles, and he has also a number of research papers in various national international journals and newspapers. And he is also very well traveled and a very person who has attended a number of training programs in Japan and other countries. He is also a resource person for various international multilateral agencies like United Nations and all. So I welcome and extend a warm welcome to Dr. Ali Gul Qureshi. Welcome, Dr. Qureshi. The second panelist for the day is Dr. Mukta Advani. Dr. Advani is presently Principal Scientist, Transportation, Planning and Environment Development in Center for Road Research Institute, Government of India. She is a PhD from IIT Delhi since 2009, and she joined CRI earlier in 2007. Dr. Advani has completed around 25 projects which have been sponsored by very prestigious projects which have been sponsored by the various ministries of Government of India. And she has to her credit a number of research papers, around 45, which have been published in all very reputed national and international journals. And she is also a reviewer to a number of journals, and she is also a member of various professional bodies. So welcome Dr. Mukta Advani on this panel, and we hope we'll be learning a lot from your experiences into this line. The third panelist of the day is Dr. Jit Kumar Gupta. Mr. Gupta is an academician and a practitioner. He dons many hats. He has been he's a basically a town planner by heart, and he has been a former advisor, town planning, Kuda, Punjab Urban Development Agency, Punjab. Before jumping to the academic field, he has been a founder director in one of the very prestigious colleges here in Punjab by the name of IET Bhaddal College of Architecture. Presently, he is a freelance trainer who spreads the knowledge, information, and by moving to various institutions as per the need of the hour throughout India as well as to overseas. And he writes extensively for various newspapers. He publishes for national international journals. He travels for national international conferences, and he's a participant who's a learner as well as a teacher. So welcome Jit Kumar Gupta ji to this show, and thank you so much to all the three panelists for appearing in this show. Now, not taking long, I will request the first panelist of the day, Dr. Mukta Advani, to take over. And before that, just the moot questions that we'll be answering today in this program is that what is sustainable transport? What are the various concepts and introduction to all this? Then we'll also be discussing some aspect about the non-motorized transport and what the Government of India is doing in this regard. We'll also discuss the movement and the cargo goods transport, especially with regard to developed world, and then the role of planning in designing sustainable transport will also come in question as such. Further, lastly, towards the show, I requested all the panelists to talk about the best practices that has there been in terms of sustainable transport, both in India as well as abroad. So, friends, these certain questions will be answered in these 90 minutes. I request the panelists to kindly stick to this 20-25 minute schedule which we have. And lately, after once all the three panelists complete their the talk, then we can have maybe a question answer as per your interaction, maybe for another 10 to 15 minutes. So now, Dr. Mukta Advani, kindly take over.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, for this introduction, and I will say opportunity of interaction with other experts of this area, which will be definitely very helpful. Let me share my presentation. Just 1 second. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, Dr. Mukti.
Okay. Yeah, is it? Can you see this slide? Okay.
Yeah, presentation is coming.
Okay, thank you. I think though we all know what the sustainable transport is, I will just quickly go through what usually we do believe, sometimes as a user, sometimes as a policymaker, or sometimes as a planner or engineer involved in this transport area. With respect to Indian traffic, I mean, this is a typical picture of any metro cities. We see the kind of congestion, we see kind of, this is a common, it's not a very specific picture for any particular road, it's a very common to see. And what is generally being thought is, we do believe that we don't have enough space for these many vehicles. Now, when we say that, and why we have all kind of negative problems with respect to accident, with respect to congestion and pollution, everything is attached to these vehicles. We believe that since we don't have a space, we are facing these issues of congestion, etc. In many countries, they have created the additional space for additional number of different type of vehicles, or even they have majorly the cars and all kind of vehicles. If they had no enough space, they have created space by building these kind of infrastructure. But again, they are also having the same problem of congestion. Sometimes in India, we do believe that the kind of vehicular type of mixture we have in on our roads, including from a cycle rickshaw, auto rickshaw, bus, and all different vehicle types, that is the main problem. Or sometimes we believe that since we don't have a particular lane discipline, and which is causing the problems. There are countries which are having a wonderful lane discipline, and still they are having the same problem related to congestion, pollution, and the delays, everything. This picture may look more organized compared to the previous one, but in terms of problems, it is quite the same. Sometimes we do believe that we Indian, we don't have a right parking sense. We do park here and there, and that is the problem of the all negative part of the transportation aspects. Now, we believe that we don't have enough space. Then there are countries, there are metro cities who have created this additional space for parking. If you just see the each pixel of this slide, basically it's a car parked, sometimes horizontally or sometimes vertically. Countries, there are many countries who have created additional space for this car parking, and still they are having the same problem. Considering all these aspects, I like this slide of this is Professor Herman Knopflecker from the Vienna University. Through this slide, what he's trying to convey is, if each and every person in the city or in any city, not in India but anywhere in this world, if we start consuming the space equivalent to a car, each and every person, then we will not be having any space for anything else. Anything, when I say anything else, is the public spaces, even the houses, the major hospitals, schools, parks, it includes everything. So, I mean, to conclude the aspect, what is if we keep adding the space, basically we are not solving the problem. We are just allowing more and more vehicles to come on roads by providing the space. Sometimes we do provide the space in terms by widening the road. Sometimes we do create additional space by maybe constructing the flyovers, underpasses, and so on. So this quote, I really like it because it conveys what I wanted to say is, adding a highway lanes to deal with traffic congestion is something like loosening your belt to deal with the obesity. We are not at all solving the problem, but we are providing more space for accommodating the more and more vehicles. I think here everyone do know what do we have in terms of sustainable solution. We consider public transportation and non-motorized transportation as the solution. I mean, it's quite known, it's quite well accepted and well known thing among the all the professionals working in this area. But though we know, we accept and we appreciate also the sustainability concept with respect to space, environment, and safety, we need to check that are we really providing the infrastructure suiting to this sustainable solution. I will. We do know that in hierarchy of sustainable solution, the lowest priority is for car, but the maximum infrastructure is basically suiting to this car. So we are not moving towards what we want to. If we check in terms of a budget spent, Also, if we check with respect to the space we have provided for various sustainable solutions, and we must be able to check that are we really moving in the right direction. When I say right direction, we all know what is the right direction. It is sustainable transport. It is for public transportation and non-motorized transport. But if we look at the budget, if we look at the space provided to cars and other personalized vehicles, maybe we are not moving in this right direction. With respect to budget, this is all data is for the city of Delhi. If we see the how many since last few years, where do we have spent money on the name of achieving the sustainable transport? Are majorly all kind of projects are either the construction of new highways, new widening of roads, new flyovers, new elevated roads, or underpasses, and so on. Mostly, I mean, since years, it's kind of we feel proud of having more and more flyovers in our city. The Ames flyover of Delhi is very well known, considered in movies and everywhere. When we show a flyover where so many cars are moving in different directions smoothly, without any obstruction, we feel some kind of a proud. Still, to be honest, a politician is very happy to inaugurate a flyover, but we miss that just at the end of these flyover, we do have a congestion. We have seen in Delhi also, or otherwise in many cities, we have seen, suppose there is a kind of a signalized intersection, or maybe initially unsignalized intersection where we do not have much of traffic. Then because of increased traffic, we do introduce a signalized intersection, we do introduce a signal control. When after few years, again this signalized intersection starts getting more and more congestion, more and more delay, then a flyover comes up. When a flyover comes up being constructed at this particular place, after a couple of, I mean, for a couple of years, it will work very fine. It will reduce the delay for almost all vehicles. And after again couple of years, we have seen almost each and every flyover itself gets congested. That means we have reached back to the initial stage of congestion without flyover, with a signalized intersection. So maybe flyover is not a solution. It's a kind of either a temporary solution, or it shifts the problem. Sometimes in terms of time, it delays the congestion level maybe by a couple of years, sometimes 4 or 5 years, and sometimes it shifts the problem in terms of the location. Instead of intersection, now the congestion is being faced at the end of these flyovers. Apart from these flyovers, we sometimes do construct the kind of footover bridges to reduce the delay of vehicular traffic on one particular road. Whenever we have introduced a footover bridges, sometimes on the name of reduced delay, or I will say sometimes on the name of safety aspect, actually we should rethink that are we really supporting the pedestrians, the sustainable mode, or are we supporting the cars and two-wheelers? If on a road there is some traffic jam or some delay, which basically this delay is again for cars and two-wheelers primarily, and if we are constructing a footover bridge, we are asking the sustainable, that is the pedestrians, to put extra effort for crossing the same road. And at the same time, we are reducing the delay for cars and two-wheelers, and of course few buses. Now we should rethink that for whatever infrastructure we are providing, is it really in favor of sustainability or not? Sometimes we do add these elevated corridors, signal-free corridors, and so many things, just by saying that it will reduce the delay. But we sometimes don't know that it's reduced delay is for private vehicles. It's not for sustainable modes. So to my understanding, let them wait the personalized vehicle without compromise. If you are able to reduce the delay of a car without compromising the needs of a pedestrian, it's excellent. But by compromising the level of service to the pedestrian or cyclist or other non-motorized modes, if we are providing improving the delay of cars, maybe we are not actually moving the right direction of sustainable transport. At the same times, when we keep adding the space for parking, we are actually inviting the cars. I mean, Gandhinagar and Chandigarh, initially when they planned, to my understanding, I mean, we all, being a civil engineer, we have really appreciated that those kind of planning. But to my understanding, apart from city planning, I can't say anything. But with respect to roads, if we provide a very wide road, what does it convey to the user? It conveys that these roads are very well constructed for driving your cars. Today, if I visit Gandhinagar, basically it's kind of inviting cars and two-wheelers to move at the speed of maybe 80. So we, instead of providing these kind of roads, let's try to narrow it down, add some space for footpath, add some space for cyclists, reduce the speed of car and two wheelers, so that it becomes safer for the community, as well as it provides the facility to the non motorized transport. As of now, if I talk about with respect to Delhi, nearly one third area of Delhi is being consumed by roads and parking. And here I'm not talking about, this is all the organized parking. I'm not even considering the parking, the car park outside outside our houses. We consider it to be a space granted for the parking, but actually it is not. Even if I don't consider that space, the space outside our houses where we do park our cars, even if I ignore those major, I will say, section, one third of its area, around 27% of the Delhi area, is already being provided for just vehicles, and it can be road or parking. So we really need to think that how much space should be kept adding for accommodating the vehicles. I mean, this is one of my favorite slides. This conveys that kind of burden, or or negative part of the transport basically lies with cars. Or in other words, it's a basically personalized vehicle. It can be car or two-wheeler. With respect to space, with respect to traffic congestion, with respect to even accident, because if two cars are being hit by each other, there is a chances of a fatal accident. But if two bicycles have been hit to each other, there is hardly any chance that the person will die, unless something very physical limitations. So all negative part is being created or being produced by the cars and two-wheelers, but all these burden of this negativity in terms of a congestion, in terms of accident, and in terms of this pollution, which is the major issue in Delhi, all these is created by personalized vehicle and kept on the shoulder of a non-motorized vehicles users. A person who's walking, or person who is using cycle or cycle rickshaw in case of northern India, all these are facing the same level of pollution, which they have never contributed in. So we need to rethink what can we do, how can we correct this direction, because at present the way we are adding the space is definitely we are promoting all the personalized vehicles and not at all the sustainable transport. Now, if we talk about the Delhi metro or even buses, apart from these, if we check the modal split of Delhi commuter trips, 35% trips are basically the walking. Now, walking or major part is also the bus and metro. Primarily, I will say bus. Major proportion of people, commuters, are basically using the, I will say, sustainable mode as of now. And that is not only for Delhi, in whole India, maximum number of trips is at present are being made by sustainable transport. But all these trips have been made by compulsion and not by choice. If today I am using a bicycle, definitely I have a two-wheeler in my mind, but I'm not using it just only because of the financial unaffordability attached to it. If I'm using a two-wheeler today, definitely I have a car in my mind. As soon as I improve my income level, definitely I will go ahead for the car. So whoever as of now are the users of sustainable modes, they have car in their mind because of the obvious reason that every facility is given better for the cars. If any in India, if you consider any road which are having some footpaths also by chance, though we don't have everywhere, but if we have a road, just try to see the quality of main, we can call it a road for vehicle, the space for vehicle, the quality of that road and quality of footpath for walking. More than 100% it is sure that the quality of road is much better than the footpath. So we have there itself, we are again conveying the facility or the infrastructure is primarily for cars, primarily for the motorized vehicles, and not for the sustainable modes. As of today, more than 35%, around 40% of the metro users are reaching to metro stations by walking. Nearly 35% are reaching to the metro station by all these non-motorized or intermediate public transportation. And hardly 14% are reaching to metro station by car or Uber and something. Now we are so much concerned about these cars and etc. We do think in the direction of providing a very good parking near this metro station instead of providing a good facility to the person who are reaching there by walking or cycle rickshaw. They are, because we consider them as a captive user, they will come in any case just because of the financial constraints. But we are concerned about this 14% of car user. If you would like to have a car parking very close to the metro station, I prefer that instead of a car parking, let's have a good circulation plan, a very good space for alighting and boarding from a cycle rickshaw to metro stations and so on. So maybe we need to relook that what we give priority in terms of sustainable transport in our theory part, is it existing on the road or not? I quickly just share that even if we see that kind of number of trips at present made by cars and two-wheelers, which are very shorter in terms of trip length, maybe 5 to 6 kilometers. If we have an excellent bicycle-friendly infrastructure placed in Delhi, these all will definitely shift to this mode. And if we consider that all these shorter trips made by car and two-wheeler, how many of them are there? Nearly 1/3 of those trips as of now made by cars and two-wheelers are of very short length. Very nearby trips have been made by car because we don't have any other good option. If we have a walkable distance, at a walkable distance, some markets, still I'm using car because walking facility is not good enough. Sometimes the footpath does not exist, or even if it exists, it have so many issues compared to this facility in terms of safety, physical safety and security and so on. So we really need to, this is a potential benefits. This can be achieved if we improve the infrastructure, but somehow we have missed improving these kind of infrastructure, and we have focused more on cars and two-wheelers in terms of all infrastructure facilities. Now, with respect to pre-COVID and within 3 years, just imagine if we are able to, because everyone considers COVID as an opportunity for improvement. Today, the traffic is comparatively lesser compared to the pre-COVID situation. So even government policies have been declared that within 3 years, we should try our best to achieve the NMT-friendly improvements. So within 3 years, if we are able to provide even the bicycle master plan or bicycle lanes on major arterial roads of Delhi, this is the modal shift we have estimated to achieve. This, as we can see, almost it's towards the sustainability, and that's quite obvious. A little reduction in cars has a huge benefit. A little reduction in terms of motorized two-wheelers, it has a major impact. And definitely, if we are providing a bicycle master plan, it will improve the bicycle trips in large numbers. But as of now, the infrastructure is somewhat like this. This is not a very particular location or nothing to do with one particular city. Almost all Indian cities, we do have these kind of situation. If we are providing a footpath, is it usable? So if when we say that most of the pedestrians are walking on road and not footpath, we really need to know the reasons behind this kind of a decision of this as a pedestrian. If a pedestrian is not walking on footpath and walking on road, it has a major impact on the capacity itself. Now, at the one time, at the one side, we don't have a good infrastructure for, I mean, walkable footpaths, I will say in a simpler words. These all pedestrians will walk on the road, which again reduce the capacity of roads, and of course the safety issues are attached to it. Now the solution is, if we want to improve the capacity of roads and the safety of pedestrians, the only option is to have the best footpaths. And when we say the best, is basically if a person is walking on a road and he has a choice to walk either on a road or on a footpath, if the quality of footpath is better than the road, definitely he will walk on the footpath. But until that, each and every person is smart enough to choose the better option, and being even we do not walk on the footpath with this situation, knowingly that it's a sustainable and all these aspects. As a user, we choose the best among two. And that's why if we want everyone to walk on the footpath, we need to improve the facility of footpaths. And it's not like undoable. It can be done. There are many projects by many different organizations who have done this. We can have all footpaths, footpath space, multi-utility zones, and so on. But whenever these kind of aspects have been discussed, a major concern discussed along with this is basically like we don't have space. In Delhi, you have wider roads, but in XYZ cities, we don't have wider roads. If we don't have wider roads, I think we need to know that, okay, we have limited space, then what is on our priority? Do we have a road with without car lane? Can we have it? We have huge number, I mean, so many roads with a long distance where we don't have footpath, because we have decided that our priority is car. Basically road is for car, and if you have additional space, you can have a footpath or you can have a bicycle lane. But maybe we need to rethink. While designing our roads, we can start from our extreme ends. Let's have footpath first, let's have a bicycle lane, and okay, if space is there, add one car lane. If not, okay, let it be that way. This is quickly I will show that this is a BRT corridor of Delhi, which was demolished lately. BRT concept is excellent, but it was failed because of some network issue. But by looking at this picture, what do we see? We see that it's a huge congestion for cars, but bus is able to move. If I am a user on this particular corridor, what will I think? I will, if I'm in a congestion, I'm sitting in one of this car, I will definitely come into mind, kash mein aaj bus mein aaya hota. So if bus is at the moving at the faster compared to the cars, I think that infrastructure is perfectly fine. That is towards sustainability. But unfortunately, if we don't have a bus moving faster than car, definitely my choice will be car. So we need to reduce the speed of car. We need to improve the facilities for buses at the bus stop while moving, and all in all aspects. I think this is for the given time. I think I should I stop here, or I have time? Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is, are you still able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is what we think, that right from the user's perspective, the planner, the engineer, everyone has to be very clear about the priority. What is our priority? If we keep saying that we would like to have a sustainable transport, and on ground, if we still continue to build the infrastructure keeping the car in our mind, definitely we will never be able to achieve that sustainability aspect of it. So being a user, being a planner, being an engineer, we definitely have to remove the car from our mind so that we can think of the sustainability aspect. I think I should stop here, and let's. This is what we kind of from my perspective, we do some kind of a mistakes with respect to conceptual errors. We keep talking about sustainability, but we keep building the wider roads, we keep adding the flyovers, we keep constructing the underpasses and footover bridges, sometimes on the name of the congestion or sometimes on the name of safety and all these things. So maybe we need to recheck our very basic concept we are kept following since, I will say, at least last few decades, maybe 3-4 decades. I think I should stop here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You still something to share?
Actually, I always keep 2-3 thank you slides, keeping the time limit on mine.
Yeah. Would you require some more time? Maybe you can take maybe 5 minutes or so.
Okay, great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 1 minute. Then I will again share. Okay. Now, with respect to COVID, is it, yeah. With respect to COVID, we did some, prepared some kind of a social distancing norms for transportation. This is like how we should keep moving with this COVID, because it will go on for at least next 2 years. After this lockdown, what we are expecting is that definitely we all have seen the drastic reduction in terms of the commuters' movement. And then we are expecting a gradual increase in terms of the movement. Now when we say the movement, it includes all kind of working sector, all kind of model split and everything. So what we have done is we consider this as an opportunity. Now we can have two approaches to achieve the sustainable transportation. And these two approaches are: one, we have to redesign the facility suiting to the social distancing. This includes basically, less number of commuters inside the bus, inside the metro, or even at the number of vehicles on the road. This definitely getting reduced. But at the same time, we all know that everyone will prefer and has preferred the personalized vehicle. Now, when we say every commuter is preferring to commute by the personalized vehicle, usually we start expecting more and more cars. But when we talk about the personalized vehicle, basically we have three options. One is the car, second is the two-wheeler, and third is again the cycle. And we have seen that huge cycling has been added on our Delhi roads, or maybe in almost all cities, because most of the bus commuters are now not able to catch the bus because of the limited capacity of bus services, with reduced number of passengers allowed within the bus. They all are moving towards cycling because they cannot afford to have a two-wheeler, or they cannot afford to have a car. They are moving towards bicycling. And once they are already moving towards on bicycling, it's a perfect opportunity to provide the facility so that they, in their mind, the car does not come. If they are getting good facility on road for bicycling, the chances of their continuing being on bicycle is definitely increased. In Noida, there are some cycle lanes created. In fact, I was moving on one particular road earlier, pre-COVID situation. A wonderful, very, in terms of quality, it was a very nice bicycle lane was constructed and painted very, very colorful. And I was moving from that road, and I saw a cyclist not cycling on the cycle lane, but moving on the main road. I, out of curiosity of being in this profession, I stopped and I asked him that, "Kitna acha bicycle lane hai? Why are you not cycling there and cycling on road?" the person responded like, it is, yeah, it is beautiful, then something must be very special, and it cannot be for us. It maybe some VIP must be coming, for them it might have been done. So the kind of a since years the image is, if something is really good, then it doesn't belong to the cycle. If something is really good, it has to be for some VIPs. That kind of mindset we do have. And I mean, that's why, I mean, because some professionals have raised these questions, that even if you provide the best bicycle lane, they don't start using it, because it's either they don't feel like it belongs to them. And sometimes it is if you have provided just a cycle lane for 2-3 kilometers, and if you start moving on it after 2-3 kilometer, or even lesser, much lesser than that, you need to change your path. You have to, carry your bicycle on shoulder and bring it back to the roads. If in many, we have observed in many surveys that on an average in Delhi, wherever we do have a footpath, except I will say the New Delhi part, which again belongs to the VIPs, any particular footpath, if you try to walk on footpath, I decided I will walk on the footpath, within a 1 kilometer of distance, you need to get up and get down for more than 100 times, because of various kind of obstructions. It can be trees, it can be hawker sitting on it, and so on. We all are aware of these kind of obstructions. So if we still really don't want them to walk on these footpaths, definitely it is fine. Then we should not talk about the sustainability at all. But if we really want these people to walk on the footpath, we definitely have to remove all this obstruction and make the roads worse compared to the footpath. And that's what we do with respect to while bicycling. We need to we have proposed two approaches. One is the design corrections, and second is the demand reduction and capacity enhancement. With respect to design correction, definitely we have to provide a safe and comfortable cycling. We need to improve the capacity of buses and metros, and definitely intermediate public transportation. This includes cycle rickshaw as well as this e-rickshaw, and even the shared autos, Vikram, whatever we call it in different parts of India. So, and another is we need to reduce the demand. When we say the reduce the demand, this is due to, I mean, for the next couple of years, due to the COVID pandemic, we need to stagger the days of working at office, or sometimes we need to limit the days of working. And we need to definitely add the additional capacity for buses. When we say additional capacity for buses, again, I consider one is definitely the number of buses, but more importantly is the bus lane. Because even with the existing number of buses, if we have a separate bus lane, definitely the speed of buses will increase, and definitely the more it can serve to the more and more passengers. So through this we can improve the capacity. Through the infrastructural changes, we can improve the capacity, because otherwise everyone will keep end up saying that we don't have the additional number of buses immediately to be provided. So within 3 days, any road can be converted into with a separate bicycle lane, a separate bus lane, with very minor road markings or paintings, and very few temporary kind of measurements. But it doesn't require a long time to convert a road with a better facility for bicycling and bus lanes. So even with this guidelines, what I was suggesting, we have provided these all options. Now, definitely, a policymaker has to decide and what is the priority. Again, if the priority lies in the public transportation and the cycling, I mean non-motorized transportation, the choice is very clear. What to be done within a week time, it can be done. But again, if most of the infrastructural change actually are approved when it has additional space for cars and two-wheelers, or in terms of any change, even if a signalized intersection, a left free turning is not in favor of pedestrian. A left free turning is not in favor of a cyclist. Left free turning is not for good for the sustainable modes. So we need to really think at each and every change, design change or the operational change, that is it really favoring what we do would like to favor in theory, what we have in our policy. We keep talking about the sustainable transport, but at the time of implementation, somehow we don't want to compromise any need of a motorized vehicle, especially for big cars. And some people may say that majority are being in cars. So I will say that, it's true, totally untrue, because if we check out the census data, hardly 20% of households do own a car. Now, when we say a household, only one member is basically having car, and most of other family members are dependent on, again, public transportation, non-motorized transportation. We keep talking about cars because whenever we see outside on roads, the majority space is being consumed by cars. So we feel like car is the problem. Car is the major in numbers. But if we count the numbers, definitely it is much, much, much less than all other means of transport. I think,
Yeah.
Sanjeev, I will stop here.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Mukti, for this very enlightening discourse on what should be done. And I think what I have understood is that the planners have to take note, and thereafter, while planning the entire structure, they have to have the emphasis on cycling as well as walking, because not only it will be more healthier option, rather it will be non-polluting option as well. So thanks a lot. And I think what you said, if you just see the case study of Chandigarh as such, we have around 140 kilometers of cycling roads that have been built up, and they have been so beautifully amalgamated with the entire structure that and on the crossroads, they are the crossroads which are being used by all, but then they are separate from what is being used by the cars and others as such. And I'm very happy to share, since last around 1 year or so, while you go out for the morning walk, you find so many cyclists into the direction. I mean, ranging from very very senior citizens, also small kids, and even the ladies. They are now onto cycling from one sector to even going towards Sukna Lake, which is roughly, let's say I am in sector 49, from there around 8 kilometers, and then coming back, especially on Saturdays and Sundays. And the demand and the sale of cycles, and even those people who are into cycle repair and all, it has increased multifold, especially after the COVID one. So thank you, Dr. Mukti, for this. And now I request Dr. Ali Gul to take from here and share his own experiences and information on this. Dr. Ali Gul, welcome, very warm welcome from India, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjeev, and thank you for providing this wonderful opportunity. I really appreciate the initiative taken by you and your institute. And thank you very much, Dr. Advani, for a very nice starting presentation. I think you and Dr. Sanjeev has already set up the platform for discussing on this very special topic of sustainable transport. Let me start by sharing my presentation. Actually, um, try screen is also okay. So let's start with that one. Is it shared all right? Okay, I hope you guys can see my presentation slide now.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. Actually, I work a lot with Zoom, and so it's become a little bit difficult for me to work with these things. Okay. Window. Okay. How about now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
There is a option of present now.
Yes, I'm using that one and presenting and sharing it with this one. But okay.
You can select a window option.
Yeah, I choose both. First, I tried with every all screen, and then I choose with the window option, but I think both of them are not working somehow. So,
Yeah, are you trying to share the presentation, Dr. Ali?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
Let me
Please.
join with another computer. I think there is some problem with my cameras as well. So I will be joining with my second PC. So can we wait for maybe 2 minutes?
Yeah, so if you're comfortable, then it can be a talk also. We are listening to you. No issue.
Maybe I'll just share with my other system.
Yeah, yeah. If that's possible, that's fine. Otherwise, even a talk is good enough.
Okay.
Meanwhile, if you, Sanjeev, ji, allow me, I can respond to the question.
Yeah,
Someone
yeah.
has written. If you, it's okay, Dr. Ali.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
I will just be online
Yeah, yeah.
from my.
Whenever you are ready, please stop me.
Yes, go ahead.
Actually, someone has raised the question with respect to mindset, that how do we change the mindset of being on bicycle compared to car. I think as Dr. Sanjeev already mentioned, there are so many people who are doing cycling these days. I think more than mindset, our minds are quite okay, and we are, I believe we are, everyone is smart enough to choose the best possible option. So as of now, with the given infrastructure, the best option is car, and that's why we are using the car. Now, if you assume that you have a wonderful cycle track from your home to say office, suppose it is 3 or 4 kilometers away from your house to this office, and you have a wonderful thing, our mindset is smart enough to choose the right option instead of going for other things. I think Dr. Ali is ready, so maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, you can finish your
I'm done. I'm
answer,
done.
and then maybe
I will.
I'll start.
Yeah, please
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, Dr. Ali, please go ahead.
Okay, then I'll start. Okay, again, sorry for some disturbance. My voice is not echoing, right?
Yeah, Dr. Ali, you're not audible. You're speaking.
If she is free, I will make an information regarding transportation facilities in all over India. Can I make a call to Dr. Mukti Advani?
Okay, now
Yeah.
am I audible now?
Yeah. Very much.
Okay, and my screen is also shared, right, with my presentation slides.
Ji.
Okay, so let's begin with the just like introduction slides first, and I will try to go rather quickly through them because, as I mentioned, Dr. Advani already has set the tone for this discussion. Urban and regional planning.
Sorry to interrupt, but is it a shared screen? Is shared?
Yeah, now presentation is not visible, Dr. Saab.
Okay, all right.
अब नजर नहीं आ रही presentation.
All right, I'm very sorry for that.
No issue. Please take your time.
Okay. Okay, share. Okay. Is it shared now? Well.
Yeah. It is sharing. Yeah. Now it's come.
Okay. So can you see my slides now?
I think you have shared your screen.
Oh,
Not
not the other
not the
one.
slides.
Sorry again.
It is gone again.
Okay, yeah. Because I have just finished it. You're not. I just my entire screen. I think is better.
No issue, no issue. Please be comfortable and take your time. It doesn't take
Okay.
much. Yeah.
I'm not sure what's happening. So just let me take some time. Mhm. I think now we are fine, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you very much and sorry for the disturbance. Okay,
It's visible now.
okay. Let me go very quickly through these introductory slides because I think time has already west a little bit. And then Dr. Advani already had set the stage for this discussion. Urban and transport planning or urban and regional planning rather, uh, it touches every almost sustainable development goal starting from no poverty or poverty reduction to the life on the land and other all these related sustainable goals. Um if we see from the greenhouse gases perspective, transport and other sector related to uh, our urban, let's say, movement, uh, share considerable amount, like 14.1% in if we see worldwide perspective. But if we see for individual countries, for example, the cities or the countries which are more car centric, the portion of transportation has increased. I think I don't have any um, results or data for India or subcontinent, so I don't know. But I think somewhere near 20% or 25% would be the sector, this sector's greenhouse gases and other problems. This slide, which I like to share with everybody, is shows the different cities and their contribution in terms of emissions from different uh, sectors, and we can see that Singapore, for example, has very low uh, share from the transportation side, and this actually gives you hint that what can be done to get very low greenhouse gases sector share from transportation sector, and many people, especially relating to our transport field, study Singapore as case studies, right? And we have many different concepts which are initiated by Singapore, which are now being like people try to enforce them in their own countries as well. Okay, well, let's go very quickly with the general concept or the general, let's say, mantra of transport policy. Dr. Advani was also sharing this slide or this picture before. The important thing is that whenever we are making for or whenever we are going for this policy-based policy decisions, we should be in favor of land use efficient mode of transport, which is very clear that car is not one of them. And we need to go for this collective sort of transportation mode, which can help you out with your land use efficiencies. Similarly, on the basis of environmental unfriendliness, also cars seems to be losing uh, than these non-motorized modes or these public transport modes. So it's not, I think, very difficult to understand these two things, that what or which direction the policy should go for transport. The other thing which is, I think, very much in demand nowadays is this transportation demand management concept, where we try to prioritize more efficient modes such as walking, cycling, even teleworking and staggered working hours, which were like introduced maybe decades ago. And with this new COVID situation, people are more sort of trying to adopt these things out of necessity rather than for our choice. So in order to improve the sustainability, we should prioritize high value, low cost strips rather than the car trips which are more sort of cost uh, in a social way. They are producing more cost than their values. There are many other factors actually which are in favor of transport demand management or total going for the sustainable transport, not only from the environmental concern, but in many developed countries, demographics are also changing. People are getting aged, and it will be difficult for them to drive cars for longer times from now. And also, if we can add the COVID-19 situation or pandemic to this list, which can also support our transportation demand management and other things. Decisions actually are linked with urban planning. Last time I was listening to presentation of Dr. Jit Kumar in the previous seminar, and he has touched, I think, many of these concepts of urban planning, where we are making these mistakes historically, going towards or going forward with this pyramid type zoning systems in our urban planning, which of course favors cars and other things. This picture shows one of the ideal maybe uh, urban planning or situation for current users and maybe some planners as well, where the cities have, where the houses have more privacy, and they are connected with this not very connected sort of infrastructure. Uh, this is sort of our current and uh, most favored type of situation now. These people who are living over here, you can see that they cannot there is no workspace for them over here, and of course there's no shopping available for them. So when we plan for these type of things, as a result, these very large uh, box type stores, what we call them, box stores, or very large malls, are the results for the shopping thing, and with a lot of vested space for parking as well, as we can see over here. The result is that the people are more and more car based, and these are the results uh, for this type of planning. So I think planning and transportation urban planning and transportation are very much related to each other. And as Dr. Advani was saying that, okay, building more capacity is the solution, which we have seen failed in the Western countries also. So we should try to avoid this type of things in our developing part of world. Okay, what our historical trends are, what we were used to be before we went on this sort of crazy urban planning spree. That we used to build cities with very much connected spaces. For example, this grid pattern spaces for my city where I live, Kyoto, which is very old city, and we can see that it's um very nice, and it can provide you a lot of connectivity also. Also, we used to live in mixed use neighborhoods where all our uses, all our support system was very near to us. Shopping, residence, schools, even some workspaces are also very near. So I think our future possibilities are also connected with this type of our historical living. We have to go back to our neighborhood style living and try to connect our neighborhoods with this transit oriented development, which, as I mentioned, touched by Dr. Jit Kumar also in the previous presentation or the previous seminar. Okay, most of the cities, as I mentioned, that which are seams or which are thought as more sustainable, their growth actually have followed the same pattern. This slide shows the concentration of population along railway network in Tokyo. And we see that from 1960 and 1985 and even further, the major growth is along the lines, the railway lines, which are shown by these dark lines over here. And now they have developed so much that you can basically travel any part of Tokyo on this network, and you can walk around them, because within 800 meters radius from the railway, you can actually achieve you can be connected with every part of the city. And this is the another way we can see how Tokyo is connected with this sustainable mode of railways. The bus network is on top of it, so that will also increase your connectivity and accessibility rather than the other aspects of transport. One of the major, I think, success of this railway companies and this railway-based commuting system in Japan is that many companies, many railway companies, they do not only earn their revenue from the railway business, but they have also earn a lot of revenue from the connected businesses which they run very near to their stations, in the station, in the surrounding area of a station. So it is basically developed by those railway companies so that they can not only connect that area but also keep providing the transport services for that area. So the real estate and other businesses are also linked with that one. I think when we try to follow, we try to bring these concepts from developed countries to our countries, we should also try to bring the attached concepts. For example, give more and more leverage to these companies to develop areas which are surrounding stations to get more transit-oriented developments over there. Another, I think, very good aspect with this development along the railway lines is that the companies are also providing a lot of space for these park and ride systems. For example, this line which goes very near to my home and in our city has two very big park and ride systems. One at this station, which I think you can see at Katsuragawa, and the other one is at the Nagakyo Tenjin station. And they also provide a lot of space for bicycle parking. I think this was another thing that Dr. Advani was mentioning, that people are traveling towards the stations with bicycles and we don't have enough infrastructure for them. So this is also, I think, very much handled by these companies. They can see, they can sense what are their users, and then they can provide infrastructure related to them. Of course, there is some savings for the cars as well. On the whole, I think on the passenger side for sustainable transport, I think this slide gives very nice perspective that where we should go. And this is a sort of aim and objective of this Sydney Public Transport Authority. They want to create coverage, public transport coverage for Sydney City from this right-hand figure to the left-hand figure by providing a public transport available for almost all people, right, within 400 meter of their residence or of their destinations, right, and with a very high frequency of 15 minutes, where you can travel on this different mode of public transport with one ticket, and the public transport itself is very safe, clean, affordable, and accessible. I think if we go with this logo or with this sort of slogan that the public transport should be safe, clean, affordable, accessible, and sort of very frequent for everybody, I think it can solve some of our problems. And as Dr. Advani mentioned, that most of our users, especially in the developing part of the world, are public transport users, and they should be provided with more benefits. Right, at this stage, I think from that particular slide, I will try to shift my focus on a different type of transport, which is also very important for cities and the overall country, is the movement of goods, right? And I think Dr. Jit Kumar will also give us more information about passenger transport. And as Dr. Advani has already discussed a lot of things about people's transport, I think it's good to get some share of the goods movement also in the sustainable development or sustainable transport modes. Okay, yes, I think no, maybe a strange fact that urban freight is increasing, and its role is also increasing in developing cities, developing countries, and also in developed cities. For example, this slide, which I usually show with many participants, they become sort of a little bit shocked maybe. These are the number of customers per day that visit convenience stores in Japan. and this is only for one store 7-Eleven. If we combine all convenience stores, about 37.5 million per day. I think it's the population of Delhi nowadays, this many population. So if you think that those many people are visiting this convenience store, there is huge demand for refilling of these convenience stores also, because they share only very small area for selling space. E-commerce is another trend which is increasing in COVID situation also, pre-COVID situation also, and that also increases the demand for goods movement or demands for urban freight in our urban areas. We see that maybe Japan is ranked maybe 3 in our region, but I think other countries are also picking up, and their share of e-commerce is increasing. So basically, it invites more and more freight traffic into our cities. On the other hand, the other trend which is very common in urban freight, especially in developed countries, is that in order to keep up the service, in order to meet the customers' expectations of on-time deliveries, the freight carriers are also getting a lot of pressures and a lot of disadvantages, and the load factor, the filling factor of the trucks is going down. So we have a lot of empty trucks movement in our cities, which we can of course reduce to make the share of freight traffic a little bit less in our cities. And then we try to see at the proportion of environment, of course, environmental problems. Like share of environmental problem by this freight vehicle is also very big. It's considerable. Their number is small, but their share is quite large. You can see in Japanese market over here, and also maybe if we see in UK's greenhouse emissions graph, consider about almost 30% is shared by these light vans and heavy good vehicles, which are responsible for the freight transport. So we have this small branch of logistics, which we call city logistics, where we try to discuss these type of problems of urban freight from the perspective of both public and private sector's cost. So not only cost-wise, but also from the environment, energy use, and traffic congestion aspect. So today I will be talking one of the measures, one of the systems that we try to propose or try to see, for example, how they can be able to solve this type of problem, urban freight problems. And the system is called urban consolidation centers. Let me give you a very simple definition of this urban consolidation centers and what they do. The main objective is to combine or to consolidate the supplies for different customers, which are being ordered either by the same company, like for example, we call about the 7-Elevens or these big shopping malls. They are ordering a lot of things from different suppliers. So instead of these different suppliers go and try to serve that particular area of city or particular customer or particular location, we try to combine or consolidate it good into one single sort of big package, and that package is being delivered by just one company or one truck. So we can reduce the number of trucks in the city as a whole. I think it will be more clear when I will go through some of the case studies or some of the examples that I have prepared for everybody. One of the case study I will show you is about this new landmark of Tokyo, which is called Soramachi. This is Sky Tree. This is I think the tallest tower now in Tokyo and in Japan. This particular land use is sort of regenerated land use. Before it was used for freight yard for a railway company. They have redeveloped this one. So I think this is also another good practice to use more brown space in your city to develop the new ideas or new developments, rather than to use more green space on the surrounding side. So this one is one of the let's say maybe what we can say benchmark maybe for good planning, because it is first it is using an already developed space to create more useful space in city, one thing. The other thing is that this also created as a TOD, so I will go in that one also a little bit later. So this gives the general aspects or general figures about this project. It's a smaller area, not so big from perspective of a city like Tokyo. But the important thing is that the number of people visiting this place. This place is mainly shopping and sightseeing to see this nice tower and to see the city views from top of it. But it also provides some other office spaces and maybe academic institutes and some commercial facilities on the offices also, maybe some residents also. So the number of people visiting this place is around 120,000 every day, and all these people are there to do some shopping or enjoy restaurants or other type of things. So I think again the demand for refilling or demand for inventory refilling is very huge, and this project actually, as I mentioned, is can be a benchmark problem from this perspective as well, that it is located at the hub of 3 different subway lines. So I think it is very well connected with public transport, so passenger transport is no problem. Even if 120,000 people are coming, there is enough capacity, and this is a very nice type of TOD where you can combine your development with transport setup. But if we see its surroundings, like how this particular project is located, you can see that all the other area is very densely developed and very low sort of area in sense of height of the buildings. The surrounding roads are also very small, and I think they cannot handle the amount of surface traffic or even passenger is of course impossible, but even for the freight. And we can see this many streets which are leading to the project area are very, very small, and I think it will be impossible to run a lot of truck traffic on them. So what people are now thinking is that they are thinking about these logistics problems also, or these freight problems also from beginning, and then they are trying to integrate that one in the initial planning of the facilities also. So here also they have planned, I think, a integrated logistics system with this thing. How does it work? It works with a similar concept of urban consolidation center or distribution center, and the people who supply goods to the final facility need to go through this particular center, and then finally consolidated goods with more maybe environmental friendly vehicles can be shifted to the different places within this project. So for that one, what they did is that, okay, this is the location of Soramachi, which is very much centered in Tokyo. So what they did is that instead of directly going to Soramachi, they said that, okay, why don't we collect things in 3 other locations which are marked with these triangles, right outside the main city. This one is towards port area, which is I think not so congested also here, and in the northern area over here. So instead of going directly to the to this small area which located in a very dense city, they did divert the number of trucks. For example, 80 trucks per day, every day, go to Kawaguchi urban consolidation center, other going to Saramachi. Similarly, other trucks like 200 and 100 going over here. Still some trucks, 430 trucks are required to visit this place for other inventory replenishment every day. So instead, I think you can see that instead of 800 something trucks, we are just having only 420 trucks going here. And surprisingly, the amount of deliveries, these remaining 380 trucks can be fitted surprisingly to just 5 trucks, right? So you can see that these 380 trucks can be replaced by just only 5 trucks. So the overall traffic situation, overall parking situation in this particular area will be much improved. And to achieve this, to obtain this favor, the freight companies also need to pay some money to this urban consolidation center over here. I think freight carriers are very much happy to pay this much amount because the parking fees in that area is very, very high, and there seems that this money is very it's not so huge. And these are some figures, like around 2 lakh vehicles were treated at this urban consolidation center, and they avoided to travel to the dense part of the city. Another part of the city which I think goes very well with this idea is this area in Tokyo again. This area is called Shinjuku, and the characteristic of this area, you can see there are many tall buildings, many high-rise buildings, and if the freight companies have their customers in maybe 2 or 3 buildings which are with the different floors and different things, nowadays with new concepts of safety, because you cannot just go at the different floors in this buildings. You have to go through security checks and other type of things, so it will be very tedious for freight carriers also to service customers in different stores on these very high-rise building. And also overall the parking condition is not very good in this very dense part of the city. So lack of parking, many high-rise buildings, and more than maybe 2,000 office and retailers in this area. People thought like how to do, or how we can do this deliveries more sustainably and without any parking violations, other type of things. So what they did is that they developed urban consolidation center, a small center in one of the buildings. Maybe here you can see in the basement of that thing, and instead people go and deliver on each of these buildings. All of the stuff is collected in this basement, and then that is basically segregated and consolidated for each building, and then they just deliver at the basement of each building, and the staff also travels with those consolidated goods, and then they just deliver from one building to another building. And there is a substantial savings in terms of vehicles entering that area, people who are finding the parking in this area, or maybe illegal parkings are removed, and also in the emission part. This is the second sort of place where these facilities can work. The third facility, or third type of area which I want to share with maybe with you guys, is that it's not about the single area or the single maybe iconic building or single project. It's more related to a big part of a city. In Yokohama's city is called Motomachi area. It's quite a big part over here, and this whole area is being serviced again by urban consolidation center. And especially this city street, which you can see over here, it's very commercial street, and to improve the environmental condition over here, what that is again is to avoid these 6 trucks, let's say, just an example, going and servicing this area. They consolidated goods in separate place, and then send them just by one truck, which were environmentally friendly, and other like they are using maybe natural gas, I think. So the environment in the street itself, the construction, the shopping street also improved a lot. Not many trucks are moving in this very congested part, which we often see in our small bazaars or shopping areas, which are already very congested. A lot of freight vehicles are moving in over here. So the environment becomes very good. Still some cars are there, but no truck traffic. Instead of parking over here, these trucks which are only few in numbers, maybe 2 or 3, they just park parallel to in a parallel street, which is not the shopping street, and the deliveries are done with this push cart. So consolidated deliveries, one delivery for one shop, for example, only, and they are just delivered in this particular thing. Again, a lot of benefit is achieved in terms of number of vehicles reduction and the environment. This is the urban consolidation center, which is a little bit far from there. I think the time is also running out, so maybe I will just go very quickly through this last slide and the other example related to this slide also, so maybe we can skip that. This concept is the same as like consolidation center, but not for the shopping or not for the parcel delivery, but for the construction material delivery. And this concept was also sort of tested, maybe we can say, in London, right, to construct very big projects over here. So we can see that a lot of material will be required for construction of these buildings in the core of the urban, London part. And we can see that these projects like 1, 2, 3, 4, they are within this yellow area or maybe orange area, which is the congestion charging zone. So everybody, even the freight trucks which enter in this particular part, they have to pay some extra cost. So these are already sort of part of some sustainable mode of transport already over there. Right, and so what they did is that they constructed a construction consolidation center 2 miles off this area over here, and instead of these all different suppliers go directly to the uh, project area, what they do is that they just deliver everything at this consolidation center, and it is stored over here, and then it is transferred to this project area on daily basis, that how much amount they need, and then some of the waste material or some of unused material can be uh, sort of recycled or sent back to this area over here. Instead of using many trucks, they are just using 5 trucks, as we can see over here, and it helped in traffic reduction. About 80% of the vehicles which are supposed to go directly to the area now reduced, and also helped in the reduction of the waste, because the waste can be collected and sent back to only one place. You don't have to collect and separate waste for all other like every supplier. And they also helped in sort of recycling the unused material. For example, maybe over ordered material, and we can see over here it's a lot of money. Then the pounds, maybe around 2 lakh pounds, and around 33 pallets of the bricks were recycled sort of over here. So I will stop, I think, over here, because the next topic or the next that I wanted to share was about this Hammarby area. I think this is also one of the iconic sort of place for sustainable urban development, where many people try to cite this one. Basically, while constructing this very beautiful place, they also installed urban consolidation, construction consolidation center outside it, and the savings were very significant, I think, over here. And the other thing that I wanted to share about the same, maybe Stockholm, very close to this Hammarby town, is that how they try to handle the logistic situation in very dense and very narrow street urban centers. I think these are also very common in our part of world, where the streets are so small and congested that even like allowing all of the suppliers to bring their stuff and distribute to these small shops. I think it's a big nuisance for us also. So what they did is that again they constructed a small construction, so an urban consolidation center outside here, and to very small shops and very narrow streets over here, they tried to use sort of a public transport system of this urban freight delivery. So they just collected from all these different freight carriers or suppliers, and then they run sort of stop by stop and delivering to all of them. All right, this was my talk. I think the conclusions are very general, so everybody understand about them. Sustainable transport linked with sustainable urban regional planning. We have to focus more on accessibility rather than the mobility itself, right? And the transport demand management is the key to achieve this one. But on the other hand, also we need to go with a holistic approach, which also includes freight transport, because I think most of us neglect this freight transport in the planning part also, and in the government sort of policy making also, especially for the cities, because most of the things in freight transport for the city, uh, uh, it lies in the private sector. But I think on the other hand, the private sector is very easy to be convinced, and we can do this small project based, like I have shown some of the small projects, which you can just maybe convince maybe only the supplier, only the developer of that particular area to achieve this small, but I think very valuable contribution towards sustainability. Thank you very much. I think I took a lot of time. I'm very sorry for uh, many mishaps also. Maybe I will be prepared well maybe for the next time. with this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you, Dr. Ali, for sharing such wonderful information, especially about the freight transport. Because generally, when we are talking about transport, we are talking about the passenger transport and not talk about the goods or the freight transport. Rather, you made us aware about all this, and don't worry, we have a very dedicated kind of audience wherein 5-10 minutes extra here and there will not count. But now I was thinking that you had so much to share. Maybe in future we can have some dedicated the talk on maybe each of the case studies that you did, and the wonderful case studies of Soramachi, then Shinjuku, Motomachi, and even London, and certainly some case studies which you wanted, but roughly you had to rush upon it. So I really thank you once again. And now, not taking much time, I request Shri Jit Kumar Gupta ji to take over from here and to talk about the role of planning in terms of having a sustainable transport cities, and maybe with some case studies to welcome sir, and long wait. Over to you now, sir. Yeah, sir, please go ahead, Gupta ji.
Okay, no problem.
Ji.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Dr. Gupta, can you hear me? Sir?
Oh,
Yes, yes, sir.
um, I think we have to find out.
Yes, sir. Please continue.
Is it my?
Sir.
It's a visible.
Gupta, please
Sir, is it
continue.
visible? My presentation visible.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
It's visible now, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, I got messed up. There are two fine presentation we had, one looking at the Indian context and other looking at, what happened in Japan. I think there were two very valuable explaining the total context, that how the transportation is, getting important and getting worse for the people. I think, cities have to be very, very now carefully looked at in terms of the transportation, because transportation is emerging the major challenge in the cities after the shelter. But we were looking at why people travel, and Dr. Chaddha clearly said people are traveling for jobs or economic opportunity or growth and development. All human activities basically involve the travel itself, and the travel have become the essential part. It's not for individual growth, but growth of the total communities, nations. And they say the efficiency of travel, transportation is the efficiency of your economy. They say if economy, if cities are known as, the area, the transportation promoting the development, then the transportation remains the engine of that, the entire train for promoting development. So therefore, transportation assumes a lot of importance. If at all we have to grow, and all the, developing countries are focusing on improving their traffic and transportation. That's how, you can move things and, goods from one part to another with the minimum kind of friction and minimum kind of delay, etc. So the systems are being invented. The kinds of modes are being made more effective and efficient, so as that people that you have better connectivity itself. So connectivity is also getting important in case of rural urban context, where you would like to move the rural produce to go to the urban area for processing, etc. So the transportation is becoming important not only for the cities, for the rational growth and development, but also for the villages. So if the villages have to grow and in tandem with the urban areas, the issue remains how the two, urban and rural context can be connected through an efficient system of connectivity, both technologically and both on the physically itself. But having the distinct advantages of transportation, we should understand if the transportation network are not effective and efficient, it can lead to adverse impact on the economy and social development, and even growth and development of the countries are hampered to a large scale. And you would have seen everywhere the development follows the lines of connectivity. So wherever the lines, your roads goes, railways goes, you will find the development will come. So development and the transportation are closely linked, and the transportation is closely linked with the urbanization. We are talking about the cities because they are very, very crucial. Transportation remain very, very crucial because cities are areas of concentration of population and activities. They are in a very compact area, very small area, and the issue remains how people can be moved from one place to another. So urbanization and transport, they are closely connected. For the reason there are lot of people to be moved, there are activities concentration, city size, and the travel demand is changing all the time. The distances are increasing because of number of people coming and city expanding, and there are more number of vehicles. That's personal vehicle. I think that is coming on these cities, and that's what has been clearly demonstrated by Dr. Advani, that the problem is not the vehicles. Problem is the personal vehicle, number of cars which are coming on the roads, and they are increasing rapidly. And let's understand, the problem of this, why there are more vehicles is perhaps we are getting more richer, we are having more and more cars, travel is becoming a habit, and then cities are expanding, and there is no other efficient means to go from one part to another. And that's what causes the mobility, traffic demand, and people are searching for options, where you can go faster and faster. Looking at the urban context, we saw last time, there are two major issues in terms of transportation. Number one, that, that it's more individual oriented transportation which is taking over. And you will find, that this public transport, in fact, should minimum account for 50% of the total share, because there are old people, there are children, there are people who can't afford it, they will all have to use the public transport here. And you should have minimum 50 to 60% people traveling in the public transport. But wherever is in India, either public transport is totally absent, or they are just minimal, and they are inefficient to the extent people are not using it. Secondly, what is happening, that we are spending more and more time while in traveling. And that's what, that we are always, there are two gifts which you are getting from the urbanization. That's a travel and traffic. All the time you are traveling, and all the time we are getting traffic. And travel remains the most unproductive job ever human body can do it. So when we look at the transportation scenario, we find, that vehicles are increasing at a rapid pace, even more than what the human beings are increasing. Commensurate to that, the infrastructure and facility which support the transportation, they are not increasing at the same pace. So travel is becoming expensive, and there are, people who are moving, either they were walking or they were cycling. They have been totally eliminated because of the rush of vehicle on the roads itself, and that's individual, and the sheer, even when Dr. Advani said majority of the people are still traveling or bicycling, but still you find, that on the roads, they are only doing very, very short distance and for a purpose, but they are not going from place of residence to place of destination, because cycling and pedestrianing is become the most risky job, walking and pedaling, because it is found, that in 2016, 4.8 lakh accidents were there, and every 3.5 minutes a person was dying on the Indian road, and there was an accident in every 55 seconds, So you can find out, that there are majority of casualties were in the cyclist, pedestrian, or pavement dweller, and that's what they are. Their roads have become unsafe, and as has been clearly, portrayed by Madam Advani, that Indian traffic scenario remains, free for all. There is all kind of traffic. You have, Audis, you have, cycle rickshaw, you have a animal driven vehicle. They are all sharing the same road. So there is a heterogeneous traffic. There are, large individual car vehicle ownership. There is a low road capacity. Roads have never been designed. There are no planners available, and the city plans are not, designed based on the traffic and transportation network. So there is an inefficient system of public transportation. So we have low priority to the planning of the traffic and transportation, and that's the reason, we are finding that entire city system of travel is getting into a mess. So number of vehicles, you can see, Maharashtra has more than 30 million vehicles, and Delhi, which has more than 10 million vehicle, is, Delhi has more vehicle. If you add up the Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, all three cities, if their vehicles are added, Delhi itself has more vehicle. And you can see what the crisis of vehicle is happening. This is the way these images has been shown, the way the Indian roads are being used. It is used, misused, or abused. You can see it's free for all. It's a heterogeneous traffic. You can see how the public transport works. What is the road conditions? Kind of pollution you are generating. The accident I said are taking place. Roads are being used as a parking space, and the very limited space is being made available for mobility of the vehicle itself. I think we have to look for the option, how we can make this traffic and transportation more rationalized. I think a city, a human being has four functions to perform: the living, working, care of body and spirit, and the circulation. That means a city, if it takes care of these four functions, I'm trying to emphasize the role of planning, because unless and until cities are planned to take care of the traffic blues, the cities travel can never be rationalized. Let's understand four functions as a human beings we are supposed to do. We come here for living, we involve ourselves in working, then we look after we have to be healthy, and then we have to travel and travel. I think city planning if they can give highest priority to human living, second priority to going for working, thirdly, to make human being healthy, and last priority should go to circulation. That means the people should be made to travel minimum, and if this is the order in which the cities are planned, and that's planned with nature, using sun, space and greenery as the method, I think cities have better place to do justice to the human living and their travel. In Chandigarh also, there was a clearly defined hierarchy. You can see, when they designed the city, they designed with the hierarchy. Here was a system of 7 V's, that's Rui di Vitante, rule of 7 V's, where you have full order, that traffic coming from outside the city to the going to a residence, this is all defined in the rule of 7 V's, and Chandigarh follows that kind of rule 7V. But Chandigarh, once Corbusier looked at the city, they found large number of people using two-wheelers, So ultimately he amended that rule of 7 V's to go into the 8BC, that bicycle, and that's what, this rule of 7 was amended to 8BC for taking care of the bicycles and the two-wheeler. But I don't say, Chandigarh represent one of the finest example for simple reason, the grid iron pattern are the worst kind of, traffic management instrument as a planning shape, you can see, they are very simple. It makes optimum utilization of land, but there is no shortcut. If you go from one end to another, you will all be traveling around this roads which are state roads. Wherever in the world, grid iron pattern has been followed, it has been superimposed by the diagonals, so that there are shortcuts. All major cities of the world which have gone for grid iron pattern, they have a superimposed diagonal as minimizing the traffic, which has not been done in case of Chandigarh. And that's what it remains one of the city remains in the crisis for traffic and transportation, despite it is being planned as best planned city in the world. Secondly, Chandigarh followed a system of pure land use planning, residential, commercial, industrial, or they are segregated. So therefore, you have no option but to travel from one end to another. And these two remains, the problem of the city. By this Chandigarh is in perpetual road crisis. I was explaining to you, this is the system of 7V, this is Chandigarh master plan, this was there, but Chandigarh did one of the finest things when they decided the city, because city is, divided into sectors, and sector is about 1 square kilometer each, 800 meter by 1200 meter, and this size was, fixed, keeping in view the human scale. That means 10 minutes walking from any corner, you come to the center of this place. So this size was this, and Corbusier wanted that this 4 walls within which a sector is there, 1 square kilometer, a child till the age of 16 should not come out. That means this will be a self-contained sector in which all your needs of living, all your needs of education, healthcare, and day-to-day, shopping, etc., they are all met with this. But unfortunately, when they did the, detailing, they put all the shopping street right, all shopping, etc., they are right on the V4 itself. So that means you have no option but to come to this, V4 for all your basic needs. Had they, rationalized the total system of distributing shopping, convenient shopping at different places, things would have been much better. Plotted development remains another kind of tragedy. Plotted development promotes more circulation, etc. If we go for flatter development, we have more chances and more possibility of making city, the communities as self-contained. So I think we have to, if we have to rationalize our planning and development and our transportation, we have to re-look at the planning. That's what has been, what Ali Sahab was saying, and so was Madam Adani was talking about. So we will have to redefine our approach to urban planning. We have to see what should be the optimum size of city. A city beyond metropolis, they are always in crisis and they will remain in crisis. And it's very difficult to make the transportation rational. We have to stop melting the city. We have to make city compact, we have to create self-contained, communities. We have to reorder our priority of planning. We have to make public transport more equitable, more efficient, and we will have to see how people are allowed to use the road space. It is not free for all, and so that we will also see how many vehicle needs to be inducted depending upon the capacity, etc., and what is the regulatory mechanism of the managing the traffic and the vehicle itself. So ultimately, I think our planning for the city will have to be changed. I said earlier, I repeated in the first thing. Second, I'm going to repeat, now our planning priority shall be promoting accessibility, not mobility. You don't have to make people move, you have to make things accessible wherever they are. You have to plan for people and not for vehicle. You have to move people, not car, and you have to keep space for walking. We are saying cycling and walking is a preferred mode, but we have to redesign the places for walking and the cycling. We have to reduce our travel demand. We have to reorder land use planning. And we will have to see that there are workplaces created within the sector itself, and sector becomes very, very, they become centric for all your needs of working and living, etc. In fact, majority of problem in Chandigarh, etc., is because people are going from one part to another for school, but in all the other countries, it is mandatory for you, for the children till 10th, to study in the same area, in the same school, which are, within the community itself. So therefore, I think that is where we need to be rationalizing. So if we make our cities more compact, we reduce our distance, we may make more community spaces. And also, we have to make sure that land is used for 24/7, rather than having two schools. There can be one school, one running in the morning and other in the evening. The playground is used for multiple, the people itself, and that will help, the, rationalizing the traffic. I think 8 principle which you will follow, that is number: walking, cycling, connecting, transport, mix land use, and then we have more density, make city more compact, and shift people from personalized to public transport. That would be the option. I said, when you plan for people rather than vehicle, I think your priority will change. It will not be wider road, it will be more walking, those payments, they will be more safe. And I think when we plan the city, unfortunately, what we do, we never keep in mind tomorrow what it's going to expand. The trees are put in such a manner that whenever there is expansion, either tree will come in your footpath, or your electric pole will come there, or you will find there is service network, what supplies sewerage or sanitation is running on the service network. You have to cut trees. I think this needs to be looked at, that when you plan for that, you will holistically plan for ultimately, what roads is going to be developed ultimately. You can do in phases, but surely that will not involve cutting the trees. That will not involve electric pole, coming within your footpath, etc. And that manholes are always there. So therefore, I think we have to reprioritize our planning. And if you give priority to human being, I think your things will improve very quickly. When we say we make cities very compact, compact city has distinct advantages, that they reduce gap between place of work and place of living. They reduce the number of personal vehicle, reduce congestion, pollution, etc. They make roads safe, and then they promote pedestrianization and cycling, and also this make public mass transportation effective. So therefore, I think making city compact will be one of the option, and there are a number of options where you do by making the city compact. It is, look at the density, look at the TOD system. That means your transportation network should be guiding your development, rather your development guiding the transportation network. So go for flatter development rather than plotted development, raise heights, change it. You look at the land uses and building bylaws. You have to build inside the city, not outside. You have to build, build vertical, not horizontal. You have to build high and not low, and these are the options which are available. So you have to look for density, you have to minimize distances, and you have to promote diversity, and the mixed land uses remain the option to make cities this. And this is a Curitiba city, one of the finest city, whose architect was, the mayor was an architect who redesigned this city, and he made sure that in order to decongest the city, this TOD system was adopted by the gentleman. Here, where you get down is your destination, it is not your stop, so you'll get down, where are you living, where are you working, so that all things are, in this transit oriented development which he did. There are cities like, Abu Dhabi, and, this is Masdar city. It is a zero car, zero waste, and zero carbon cities. There are, though car is allowed to go inside, only thing is you will come from outside and park your vehicle, or you come by a public transport, and within the city there are iPods, which are taking you, and wherever you get down, you don't have to walk more than 200 meters. In India also, you have a Matheran is about 40 kilometers from Delhi, Bombay. It's a hill station. There you are not allowed to take any car inside. You will have to park your vehicle outside, and then you have to walk down, or you can take a this horse to go from one end to another. And they have not even metal roads, in order to have those kind of the environment thing. That's what they have done it, But there are options available, and this is a Tianjin city where they again adopted, they made city compact. It is city for 3.5 lakh people, spread over 30 square kilometers, and they use the mechanism of mixed land use, they transit oriented development and green transport, in order to make the mobility sustainable. Cycling has been talked about. I think cycling, which was invented in the 19th century, remains one of the finest, mode of travel over a shorter distance, because it is inexpensive, flexible, environmental friendly. It minimizes air and noise pollution, but it's zero energy vehicle and makes you healthy. It has least financial cost to user and society. It has all win-win situation for the cities, for the people, and for the community and the nation. And you can believe it, already there are 1 billion cycle being used, and all developed countries, they are now ultimately using this cycling as the mode of travel rather than, the cars itself. And you can see, this offers enormous opportunity. There are express cycleways created, which you can use, for promoting cycling. Cycles have dedicated things, and in like major campuses, like all universities, which have a huge number of students, like 20,000, 15,000, and all hospital, they should all stop people, using vehicle inside. In fact, all these institutions should be planned for pedestrianization inside, and they can only allow, the vehicles to come outside. So there are number of things, cycling can do it. So cycling need a dedicated and respected place where they can be, where traveling can be safe, Public transport has been talked about. Public transport remains very, very important, very critical. If the, the cities have to be made more rational in travel, and also minimizing the pollution. And they also offer cheaper modes of transportation. You can see the amount of energy consumed. A person, 100% to be moved for 1 kilometer. If they are using personal car, they will use 75 watt hour of energy in UK and 68 in Japan. Whereas if you are moving by rail, by the rapid mass transportation system, the metros, you will only consume 6 kilowatt hour for this same number of people to move to 1 kilometer. You can see the amount of energy you save, and you how much you carry, And ultimately, you see what is the road space there is a car and bus. They are, a car, if car has 1 ECS, the bus will be 3.9 time more space will be requiring, but a bus will be carrying 20 times more passenger than what a car is. So therefore, I think decongesting roads would be one of the critical areas, and the public transport would remain very, very important. And this has been clearly demonstrated by city like Singapore and Delhi itself, how the mass transportation has done wonderful job in saving the time of the people in number, and removing 3.9 lakh 8-9 lakh car off the road, saving 10,000 crores, and saving 32 minutes of travel time of everybody. That's what they have been done. In Istanbul, 42 kilometers of the road lane was dedicated only for buses, and they were able to move 6 lakh 20,000 passengers every day. This is Ahmedabad, Janmarg, they have done it. This is Curitiba. First, the man who invented the bus rapid transit system, and which is now being made applicable over this. This is Amsterdam, where you can see those trams. They are so friendly. They are using the same road where you use for pedestrian, where you use the vehicle. So they can coexist in there, and they have high degree of efficiency which they can be used by this. So I think the method remains ultimately, that we have to manage a limited space we have got, and that's what it needs to be looked at. And I would like to say, the Singapore model, which Madam Adani was talking about, and the Ali was talking about, I think they have done a wonderful job. They did what, I take 2 minutes before I close, I would like to explain the system, what they did. In Singapore, you cannot own a private vehicle. Before you own a private vehicle, you have to have a right of entitlement, and which is sold by the government, ROE, and you forbid for that. You may pay money for that. So that means you are not at liberty to buy a vehicle and put them on the road, number one. So you have to ROE, and then you get a car, and then the time you are on the road, the longer you are on the road, in the congested times, then you will have to pay, that is the road user charges. That's a ERP, their system they have. They are electronic road pricing. That means you have a sticker there. You are immediately trapped the moment you come on the road, and they will go on matching, and then you have to pay money for using the road. Thirdly, in Singapore, not more than 15 years a vehicle can be in this on the roads. After 15 years, you have to throw it out. So that means all old vehicles are have to go out of this. Then Singapore said that we have already given 19% of the city area and for the roads and for parking. They said we cannot afford more areas. So accordingly, what they have said, the addition of the new vehicles, they are not being allowed. They are only allowing the vehicle which are now more than 15-year old. They are being replaced. But they have made sure best pathways have been created, best cycleways have been created, and then the mass transportation is so effective and efficient that you are able to move from one part to another without feeling the necessity of a personal vehicle. So ultimately, we are looking at the different kind of option. I think the option are with us, and ultimately the option remains, how you can minimize the use of personal vehicle. That's what the tragedy remains. Once you are using a car, a car is only for 10% time on the road, and 90% it is standing. That means in 365 days, only 37 days the car is moving on the road, and rest of the 328 days it is standing. So it is less problem of mobility of vehicles, but more problem of their parking, and that's what they are, they are requiring more and more things. So ultimately, we have to make sure that how we can, minimize the number of cars, how we can make people shift from personalized to the public transport. And also that we have to see that transportation planning becomes one of the priority for us. Unfortunately, there are cities which are being planned without any without looking at what are the optimum size. Number one, what are the optimum shape which can reduce the minimum travel. I think ring and radial may remain one of the most best option, in order to promote traffic and transportation. I think in future city typologies are going to change. There are building. I'm sorry, I can't show that image. There is a building which is 500-story building, and which contain can have 1 million people accommodated. There is a 1 mile high tower which is being constructed in Abu Dhabi, which will have 80,000 people accommodated within the same building. So you have living, you have a hotel, you have office space, and you have all kind of day-to-day needs. They are available within the same building. So maybe tomorrow, when we are looking at the cities, I think we will have a new typology of cities. We will have vertical city, we will have compact city, and city connected with effective means of transportation can do a job. But nevertheless, the planning have to reinvent itself. We have to change our priority. We have to rethink about this, and ultimately our job will be how to minimize the travel, because travel remains the worst thing. And if the planners, they have to come forward that all master plan prepared, all development prepared are prepared based first on defining the mobility. I think city will have much better option of managing this kind of things. So ultimately, more, we need to induct more transport planner as part of this cities. Unfortunately, now the traffic and transportation is managed by police, which have no expertise and no understanding, and all development authorities do not have even a, manpower which is have a dedicated understanding of the traffic and transportation. So I think planners will have to do the job, and the traffic, these specialists will have to be inducted as a part of the city planning and development so as to make rational. But I think the ultimate aim will be how we minimize the travel. And if we have to travel, we travel by walking and cycling, not by vehicle itself. And that will be the ultimate goal, and ultimate goal we would like to achieve for making cities more sustainable. Sorry, thank you very much. I took more time.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for such a comprehensive brief on what needs to be done, and how we should move ahead in terms of urban transportation, and how planning should include this aspect also. Somehow, as you rightly said, that the haphazard planning which undergoes, meaning thereby that the all these aspects have not taken care of, and the wonderful case studies that you have taken from Chandigarh, as well as from Tianjin, Lima, Mustar, as well as from Curitas. These case studies are a good measure to see and understand how urban transportation can be further made sustainable. Wherein, but I think the one aspect that the country like India has, that we are a electoral democracy, and the second aspect is that the population, which is increasing day by day, wherein the resources are lesser and the short term thinking becomes primarily more important than the long term aspects. And even if you would have seen that certain leaders who would like to go for long term basis, they are scuttled and they are not allowed to go into, and rather short term aspect has been taken care of. So thank you so much, sir. We will now I request, if there are some questions. I think there were questions from Dr. Rajesh Kumar. He's from Punjab University. I have requested Mukti ma'am, to Dr. Mukti, to take over. The two questions regarding, one was regarding inclusive transport and other. So Dr. Mukti, would you be able to answer Dr. Rajesh's question? Shall I repeat?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, he says how to construct inclusive infrastructure so that differently abled pedestrians and cyclists can move comfortably and safely? This is one question. And secondly, how to change the mindset of the people to commute by cycling or walking vis-a-vis the automobiles?
Yeah, thank you for the questions. I think when we are talking about the inclusive planning or designing, definitely India has a very good guidelines prepared by even the UTPAC or the CAC or even CRRI. So many IRC codes. There are so many answers available to design aspects. But only thing is, I will say it is just the need to make a decision that yes, we would like to have, even if you talk about only for your say campus area, if you
Ji,
decide that you want to have a inclusive path for almost everyone, it's design solutions are not nothing very we are worried about. All solutions, all expertise, everything is available even within your campus itself. And I always believe even a user himself or herself is good enough to decide that how much the space or how much width of footpath we required. If you have I mean, you have decided to have a footpath, definitely you know how much space is required. Even if you don't refer to any guidelines, if you want to have a path where a wheelchair is to be accommodated, definitely we are good, intelligent enough to decide the width. So definitely design solutions are very much available, and with a very minimum effort we can adopt it. And with respect to mindset, I think we already discussed when the break unintentional break provided to us. I think I mean, mindset is I think Indian mindset is a smart mindset. We need not to change. Only thing which we need to change in the infrastructure. Wherever we have two options to choose, we are smart enough to choose the best one. So if we are choosing car as of now, definitely we have an infrastructure behind that decision. So if we change the infrastructure mindset, or the decision is automatically going to be changed. That's what I firmly believe. I
right.
hope
Thank you.
I answered your question.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Mukti.
To add
Yeah.
to the
Any,
mindset,
yeah.
that Chadaji, to add to the mindset, I think it's a kind of human nature. Like Punjabis, they like to show off.
Uh,
The next man has a car, must have a car. He got a better car, you must get a two cars. So that I think is the tragedy. It's not that we are choosing the best. We are the people, who will go to any extent to show that we are superior as compared to others. So that's what,
right.
even when you don't need it. In your home, what is this? Four people, four cars. Your child wants to go, he would like to have, a scooter immediately, whether he is eligible to drive it or not. Everybody wants to own a car, wants to do the mobility. What is the rationality?
Ji,
The entire education system is the major promoter of the travel. The students they left the schools, they are not studying in the formal education system, they are all going for tuition. So they are all traveling from one end to another. You look at school, there are schools which are preferred schools. You look at schools, the government school, they are not preferred. All the people are traveling in Chandigarh, they are in 26 sector. And all the people are traveling to 26 from one side. And then see the traffic going on, they have to have one-way traffic. I can tell you. What the problem is, you find there is mushrooming of the education, commercial, professional education. You look at where the universities are located. They are located 25 kilometer or 20 kilometers from the city, and they
right.
have 15 to 20,000 people. And morning you find all hundreds of buses are running to that, and in the evening all running back to the city. I think where is the rationale for locating these kind of land use, which activities which have to serve a city, and they are being located away. Let me also explain you. Chandigarh was planned, and the people initially when they did the planning, I said they modified the rule of 7 BC to 8 BC to accommodate bicycle. And can you believe it? they created a leisure valley. I'm narrating that, they created a leisure valley which was crossing across the city. And they said, a cycle track will be constructed from one end to another end, and the cyclist will be able to travel, and all they will be crossing the road underneath, not at the level. But unfortunately, Chandigarh even being planned, only they have not constructed that bicycle track, and they have all kind of development which have come in. And you see in Chandigarh, even when it's planned, the road cross section have not been properly thought of. Even in the the cycle track they have created, you will find a tree coming. You will find a electric pole coming, water sewer line going. And there are a lot of issues which are there, and that is even happening. Because there was never a traffic planner in Chandigarh, and that they never thought about. The city needs these kind of network to take care of the mobility of the accessibility and mobility of the city.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Dr. Mohammed.
Yeah. Actually, just to go to the historic facts, during 1947, our population were 32 crores. Now we have reached 130 crores. So for the past 70 years, there is an increase of wide range of increase of population.
Yeah.
But according to the allocation of the funds for providing public transportation is not at all increased. So that is why there is a disparity in public distribution system, especially providing transportation facilities of people. So that is why when the population is increasing, similarly the government has to allocate more funds, and the public transportation system also to be increased. So that is the failure of the successive governments in India. And COVID-19, now we are facing a pandemic. So the people are afraid of pandemic, and they are not ready to accommodate any people while transportation. If you are riding a bike, means you will not accommodate any person as a pinion driver. So that is the problem now. So we have to see that what kind of issues. So we have to address the issue, present issue. Under the present situation, how we can improve the transportation system and allow more allocation of more fund is required in every state. So that is you can very well watch the transportation in South India.
Dr. Mohammed, that's a very valid suggestion. That's a very valid suggestion given by because I think because we are all researchers, and we are generally academicians and less of practitioners. But what after listening to you and certain chat, like the question that comes by, I think we are a democracy, and in this democracy, the elite people or the educated people, we are not putting that much of pressure or communicating to our leaders, who are our management, who are our MPs and MLAs, who take our voice to the parliament and to the legislative bodies to frame such policies. And rather, the expertise is available, and then once it is in their goal or in their part, then they are carrying out all kind of a practical aspect, but without or with lesser of the expertise. So I think we as common citizens, I mean, I can talk about myself. I've never, met my MP or my MLA as such without devoid of my personal work. So I think we should take the lead. And if we are all on one page, and today a lot of communication and this social media is also available, tweets and all. So if we post all these aspects, they have to take care of all this, and even Prime Minister office and is So that's just a suggestion, and I think
it is a good.
And Dr. Mukti, if you want to add upon what I've said, you're most welcome to do so.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah. So if there is no other question, then we can wind up. All right. So friends, thank you so much for being with us. And then just to talk about the outcomes and the deliverables that have arisen from this. Generally, the idea is that we need to provide good infrastructure to the general public, as Dr. Mukti was also speaking, that one is always enlightened enough to choose the good path. which is available. So if you're the pedestals and everything is good, then people would like to walk on that pedestals. If the cycling tracks are therein, good cycling tracks are therein, then one would like to go on the cycling tracks. Like I've given you like what one in last 1 month, I have seen visible change in what cycling has been there in Chandigarh because of COVID situation, and because of 140 kilometers of cycling track that has been built it up as such. So the mindset would come up. Overall, there could be some cultural aspects or cultural differences. Like we think that everybody जिसके पास कार नहीं है वो बेकार है. तो ये जो माइंडसेट है, अगर ये थोड़ा टाइम लगा के चेंज भी होगा तो होना चाहिए. बट उसके लिए, बट फॉर दैट टू हैपन, यू नीड टू प्रोवाइड गुड पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट वेन्यूज. आई विल जस्ट टेक 1 minute to share. Like last year, the same time I was in this Korea, Seoul, and then to Sifal and Jeju province for this attending this seminar. So Seoul, I mean, I was so impressed with their transportation system, in the sense that their airport was linked to the metro, and therein there was the road transport was also available, and taxi was also available. So everyone who's coming from outside to Seoul, he has 4 modes of transport which is available therein, and they are all at one place. Quite unlike in India, wherein our airport is different, our metro station is different, even the taxis are not allowed inside as such. So and the way wherein the transport was linked, wherein you just go on to the internet to see what time the bus is available for what is the fare therein, and the drivers are so meticulously dressed, you feel like they are pilots with ties and everything, and the buses are so good, they are air conditioned, so good buses. And it's all computerized. I think we have a constraint with rising population, but when we can design cities like Chandigarh, and we can design cities like new cities that are coming up, why can't we have a transportation system like this? Even starting at a small scale, we had a metro starting at Delhi, and then many other followed suit. So if we can follow that suit, and then have people are willing to travel by public transport. Just see the rush in Delhi metro, how people have taken to Delhi metro. Even if you have one more metro now running on different routes, it will be taken by public as such. So the idea is that mindset could be changed. Only we have to think about all these aspects. And therein, while the planners are therein, as Dr. Gupta has rightly said, that we have to plan for people, not for the cars. So if that mindset comes up, and then all this is taken place, then I am sure the public transport and the sustainability could come up, and after we could be reducing lot of carbon footprints, and the greenhouses gases emissions, the losses that occurs due to air pollution, noise pollution, and maybe due to the vehicular traffics also. So friends, thank you so much for joining, and I'm sorry we have exceeded our brief. We are 30 minutes ahead. But in webinar and all, you've seen we 15 to 20 minutes we just lost because of those certain issues, that technical issues come by. But still, as a moderator, I regret that aspect. And once again, I would like to thank all the participants who were there with us for these around 2 hours now. The panelist, Dr. Ali Gul, who joined us from Kyoto University, Japan, Dr. Mukti Advani, who joined us from Delhi, and Jit Kumar Gupta, who's our mentor, and who is providing so comprehensive knowledge to this aspect. Thank you all for joining, and friends, the recording will be available. If all of you are in our my contact circle, that is fine. Otherwise, on chat, I've sent you my mobile number 8727857116. If you are not there, kindly send me a tingle or a WhatsApp message. We'll include into our contacts, and thereafter, once the recordings are available, we'll forward it to you. Otherwise, we have formed a channel by the name of IHRDI, International Human Resource Development Initiative, which is available. You kindly go on that channel. Earlier recordings are also available, and you could see that aspect also. This recording will be available by tomorrow, and you could go and request you to subscribe to the channel, like that channel also, and if possible, share with your friends also. So friends, till we meet next time, goodbye from our side. E-certificates are also available to those participants who would want them. So kindly fill up the feedback form that we'll be sending you. That was sent on the chat box also. That link is available. So once you send it across, we'll send you the e-certificate, which is available now as well. So friends, thank you all. Thanks one and all. So goodbye, sayonara. Keep safe, stay healthy, and increase your cycling and walking. Goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjeev ji. Thank you.